Well, good evening. Game time tonight. Oilers and Sharks is 8:30 or just after. A late one, I guess, if you're on the East Coast, and if you're getting older, it's a late one in Alberta too. Uh, Lines tonight look like Hyman, McDavid, Puliarvi. Evander Kane makes his return to San Jose with Draisaitl and Yamamoto. Warren Fogle with R&H and Derek Ryan. Tyler Benson gets the call again tonight with McLeod. And it looks like 7D as well. Nurse Bouchard, Lagesson, CC, Niemelainen, Barry, and Philip Broberg, the extra D. And the only change from the last game will be Stuart Skinner starting in goal tonight. If words mean anything, I really like what Jay Woodcroft has been saying in his pressers. Seems to be a really well thought out guy. His comments. It's a breath of fresh air, and if words mean anything, he's saying all the right things, and I appreciate that. But at the end of the day, I guess talk is cheap. It's about your results on the ice, and in his first game, he got them, and hopefully you can duplicate that success and get success again tonight. I think there were things with this team that were deficiencies, and I don't think they get kind of cleared up overnight. But the more time he gets with the group on the ice to practice, I think the better it will be. If you guys want to ask me questions or shoot the shit, just feel free to chat in the comments. We finally got the comment section figured out, so feel free to ask me anything you want. When the Oilers go onto the ice for a warm-up, I can probably put it on the screen behind me, and I'll try to take you through till puck drop if you're bored and don't have much to do. As long as a few people are watching, I'll try to get you there. I'll just see if I can find San Jose's lines for tonight. For those of you that really worry about line combos. So it looks like the Sharks are going to go with Timo Meier with Hurdle and Barbanoff, Balcers, Couture, and Dahlin, Cogliano, Bonino, and Nito and Bonino. That'd be fun for announcers. Gudzovic, Pedersen with Gregor. I believe that's a nephew of Edmonton 1260 Jason Gregor. They got a Ferraro on defense with Brett Burns, Middleton, Malochi, and Vlasic, and Simic with, I believe, Reimer starting in goal. Interesting to me that Erik Karlsson doesn't look like he's a part of their lineup today, and I don't know what the reasoning would be for that. Mr. T from YouTube, that's T-E-A instead of I pity the fool, says, just tuned in. How are you liking the lineups Woodcroft has fielded thus far? I think it's interesting going 11 forwards and 7D. And Jay not being afraid to, sit Devon Shore, which was something we didn't really see out of Dave Tippett. I like the idea of going 7D and not having to choose between, the physicality that Niemelainen brings and the fluid skating and kind of puck moving that Broberg brings. I kind of think that's not a bad plan. You get the best of both worlds. You're down one forward, but some of the guys like to play a little bit more elevated minutes, and I think it makes you not afraid to use your fourth line as much because it's not really watered down. A lot of they're kind of flipping through the forwards like Draisaitl, McDavid, Yamamoto, Puljujärvi. All these guys got a little extra kind of shift time with kind of that fourth line last game, so I don't mind that strategy. See how long they kind of keep that going, but I like Puljujärvi being back up with McDavid and Hyman. I think that line's a load. And, Evander Kane playing with Leon, those are two guys that are hard to knock off the puck. So, yeah. The only thing that kind of is a little curious to me is Derek Ryan on the third line. I don't know if that's ideal or not, but, you had success the game before, so, sometimes trying to outthink your success was a area that I question about Dave Tippett, splitting up the dry line that he created a few years back when it was the hottest line in the NHL. I don't understand that. Mr. T again says, I don't ever want to give up Bison King, but just to shoot the shit. What is Yessi worth? What kind of players could we trade him for? Yeah, I hope that if you're going to re-sign Jesse Puljujärvi, you get on that right away before he becomes a proven 20-goal man in the NHL, because that price point jumps up considerably. So if you get on it right away, I think that's probably good asset management. I don't know if you win a trade at all if you're dealing Yessi. I see potential in that guy, and a zest for life, a zest for hockey. I don't think there's an attitude there whatsoever. I think if there was, that got put to bed when he went overseas and kind of had to swallow his pride in order to come back. And I think that's a valuable player for years to come for this team. And I don't even want to think about what a trade with him really looks like. I think that's a player that you hang on to. If I had to choose between him and Yamamoto, I'm taking Puljujärvi first. I think there's more to work with there. I think there's more talent. Yamamoto is a hard-working guy, and I won't take that away from him, but I just think the skill level of Puljujärvi, the size, the knock-on-wood durability factor with him, that's an asset that you want to keep. And the skating ability, and I think when this team gets into the playoffs, that's going to be a type of player that once he realizes his size and his strength, it's going to be a bigger version of Esa Tikkanen that could really drive people nuts without taking a lot of dumb penalties, and he's so defensively responsible that I want him as a part of our team. Thanks for the comments though, and the questions. I think if you're doing your job as a GM properly, Ken Holland was patient to wait for him to come around. He couldn't get his price on a trade, so he didn't even entertain one. So he didn't short sell that asset. So why would you do that now? If you have to make room to cover the salary that you think you have to pay him, you need to part ways with somebody like Tyson Barrie or Zach Kassian and free up salary in order to do it. I don't think we need to start watering down our forward group even more when it's just starting to have some depth to it. Need to solidify goaltending, I think, is the most important thing, glaring area of concern with this group, but I don't think you do that at the expense of Jesse Puljujärvi. At the end of the season, if it is positive experience with that Evander Kane, then maybe you can revisit a contract with him. But with that, I think if you lose him because you weren't willing to go more than a year or two on a salary with him, I think that's a risk you take. I don't think you can go too much longer with a contract with him until he can prove that he can handle it. And really, so far, that hasn't worked out. I do think the situation in Edmonton for him is going to be different than some of the other ones that he's been in. I think when Evander Kane becomes the alpha dog male in a locker room, that's when things go awry. And it worked out all right for him in San Jose until Thornton and Marleau and Pavelski went elsewhere, and then it went sour. So I think in Edmonton it'll work out with the guy as long as there's McDavid and Draisaitl and Nurse, and you can go down the list a little bit longer than that. But there's some guys there that may not necessarily be the alpha dog male, but can certainly play hockey at a very high level. And Kane isn't the top dog really in that room. I think as long as that guy's ego's in check, I think he's all right. That's just my opinion. I could be wrong, but that's kind of what I think about the Kane situation in our locker room. And I wouldn't want Evander Kane over Jesse Puljujärvi. I like the fact that Kane can score goals. I like the fact that he plays a physical brand of hockey. I like the fact that he can fight, or drop the gloves with anybody in the league. I mean, he's not going to beat Ryan Reeves, but he's not going to back down from that. I like that capability, but it's just the guy is such a question mark that I wouldn't put him over Jesse Puljujärvi if I had to choose between the two players. And I think if the Oilers handle what they need to handle properly, they can have both. So I don't think it's a either or kind of situation. So fairly soon, I think the Oilers should be hitting the ice for a warm up, and if you guys want, I can show that kind of in the background as we go here. Stuart Skinner back in the net. I think that was a good decision tonight. You'll probably see Skinner tonight and Mike Smith tomorrow. Didn't want Smith playing too many games, and also didn't want Stuart Skinner sitting too long before he kind of got back the net. So I like the decision to go from Smith to hand the reins over to Skinner tonight, and probably back to Smith tomorrow. And yeah, sometimes you tweak your lineup after a win, but I kind of like the idea of trying to duplicate the same success they had against the Islanders, and keeping the same forwards and same defense tonight. Interested to see if the game kind of just like our on ice product slowly starts to switch. There was a series in the Islanders game in the second period there where we gave up back to back, I think, really odd man rushes, and some of the old defensive lapses or breaks in coverage or just mental errors reared their head, and kind of the same thing that we've seen with this group for 3-4 years even was still there. So that hasn't been weeded out of this group yet, but I'm interested to see if they start to progress forward in a positive manner. If you can really start to see kind of the changes of philosophy between Tippett and Woodcroft from game to game. You know, people are pointing out that, you know, Leon on a back check dove and you know, tried to, I think he drew an offside when he dove for the puck there. You know, so you started to see a little bit more effort. Whether that's being coached by Jay, you know, to never give up and that, or if it's just a result of, hey, our coach got fired and we want to, you know, we want to put forth a good effort, or what the rationale is. But yeah, Womby the Lion from YouTube, interesting handle, says great show. Well, some probably would beg to differ, but we're you know, just trying to get everybody to 8:30, you know, without falling asleep. Much better than mainstream Oilers radio. Yeah, well, here I don't really have the same rules that they have, so, you know, I can say, you know, oh, they started fucking Mike Smith or whatever, but it was nice to see, you know, a good game from Smith in the last game. That type of goaltending, you know, I don't think you can say too many times this season that our goaltending has kind of stole us a game, but I think you could you could say that about Smith's performance. It was pretty solid, and you know, lots of people were commenting when the goal went in off the power play there that he was yelling at Bouchard. I don't, you know, I don't know this for sure, but I don't think that was the case. I think he was just pissed off that he kind of bought the little fake that was given there, and a puck got behind him. I personally think he just didn't want to give the Islanders any momentum at all to kind of get into that game. I think he wanted to shut out, and you know, was mad that he, you know, the one went behind him. I don't think it was really directed at Bouchard. Like I say, I could be wrong, but I think he was just mad at himself that a puck got behind him. He bought a fake, and you know, probably didn't like his angle too much. He gave up too much on the far side and kind of got beat. But, you know, he was solid in net. He made some clutch saves and some saves probably didn't have any business making. I thought his puck moving, you know, was quick decisions and right on the tape, and he looked good in the net. You know, like the last two games he played before that, I think he looked a little awkward in there. And the guy's been out a while, so I think it takes a little bit to kind of get up to speed. I mean, it's like he's stepping in front of a moving Amtrak at 60 miles an hour and supposed to jump on that and not fall off. And that's a big ask. I mean, anybody that thought he was going to come in and be Dominic Hasek right off the bat, I think was sadly mistaken. He's not a young puppy, and the injuries have plagued him this season. And you know, if he can give that kind of same performance that he did against the Islanders, you know, 3/4 of the way down the stretch of the season here, I think we'll be a playoff team. That's a pretty big if and a pretty big ask. But I'm interested to see what he's like in his next start. You know, if he just keeps the ball and keeps running from the Islanders' performance, or if there's kind of a slide or a regression. We'll see what happens. Lots of buzz yesterday about you know, Varlamov was supposed to get the start for the Islanders and then gets pulled off and isn't even dressed, and everybody thought he was dealt to the Oilers, and turns out had a COVID positive test, I guess, and makes for interesting because now they're not really testing asymptomatic players, but once so I don't really know how that all worked out. I just know that he was out for COVID reasons, and with these teams that are coming, you know, from the United States, it really can get awkward. And Mikko, you know, he's going to be held out for longer because he caught the Rona too. So these U.S. trips, he's going to be held off a little longer than he normally would be. I think if they were playing in Canada, within 5 days he would be back playing, but because of the border situation, he can't go. Which might be a bit of a blessing in disguise. I think Stuart Skinner is just going to be, capable to back up Mike Smith. Mr. T from YouTube says, how would you like to see Woodcroft deploy Duncan Keith, keep him paired with CC, or mix it up a bit and try a Keith Bouchard line? I think one of the things that Jay did right away was put Bouchard back up with Nurse, and kind of empowered Bouchard to kind of get his game situated. I saw some shifts though where it was Nurse and Barry as well, so I think it's kind of by committee trying to get them both going and see where it kind of shakes out. Before Keith got hurt, I thought, well, really since about beginning of December, I thought Duncan Keith's game has taken a step forward. I know Dash, my sidekick, will just kick a fuss at it, but really the last two games before Keith got hurt and the game he got hurt in, I thought he was pretty much our best defenseman. Him and Cece were fine in a lot of the games we were losing. Womby the Lion on YouTube says, can you discuss how Jay Woodcroft will improve the team that Tippett could not? Yeah, I think one of the things that is going to change and already has changed is deployment. Not only who starts games with who, but ice time. McDavid and Draisaitl's average ice time, I think Dash was saying around 50 seconds and 55 for both of them, which is way toned down from the averaging, a minute ice time. I think ideally if you can get those guys down even a little bit more from that, if you get them around 45-second shifts, as their average, some might be a little bit less, some might be a little bit more, but if you can try to zero in and get their average around 45-second shifts, you're going up the ice one way, back, and then up again, and then going off. That's ideal. Quick, hard, productive shifts are what you want. You don't want the long, drawn-out shifts where you're pushing for a goal, but what are you giving up? You're getting tired. So keep those guys fresh. And, through two periods, their ice time was kind of down. So they had gas in the third period if they needed to use them more. And I think that's a better strategy than burning them out by the midway point of the second period by just playing them and playing them and playing them. And I think if you can get the power play kind of on the same page, like if you can maybe give your first unit a minute to a minute and 15 max, and then have a second unit come for 45 seconds, that's going to improve them as well. And I really like the usage. Tippett had the idea that you couldn't take Devon Shore out of the lineup because you needed the penalty killing, but Jay uses Leon a little bit more, and Nuge and Hyman, and Yamamoto, and Evander Kane can kill penalties as well. You do that kind of stuff, and you keep everybody engaged and fresh, and he's proving that you don't necessarily need Devon Shore in the lineup, and so that's a change. I think the other thing that's going to change is the responsibility factor. Like I really had a hard time with the whole Tippett tenure, because I thought, and we all thought, I think, when Dave Tippett came in, this team was going to turn into a more defensive-minded team. And it never really happened. And our defensive zone coverage, and I'm not just blaming defensemen, but all five guys on the ice weren't really committed to keeping pucks out of our net. and we weren't really scoring either. So we weren't outscoring our mistakes. Our offense dried up. I think what's going to change is, responsibility. We talked a lot about bad pinches. Well, if forwards are doing their job, there really isn't, a bad pinch is not really a critical error. You have a defenseman go and maybe they lose that battle, but there's a forward covering them up. I think that kind of stuff is going to change under Jay Woodcroft, and I hope it does, because that's an area of concern. With the Keith and Cece pairing, I think they're a very capable pairing, but the part of them that is a concern for me is they can get beat at the far blue line and they can get kind of walked at their own blue line. So I think if our forwards become more responsible, that takes away from that, Once they're inside the blue line in our end and pucks are on walls or behind the net, I like them as a pairing. And I just think if the forwards, help out a little bit more, then they're not burnt, at their own blue line, giving up, 2-on-1s or 3-on-2s or 3-on-1s the other way, or worst case scenario, the 2-on-0s, but that didn't seem to be something that was happening to Keith and Cece. That was more Tyson Barrie, Nurse, Bouchard kind of problem. As well as Manson, and thanks a lot. Dave Manson, I think, will probably help Darnell Nurse the most. I think that, there's going to be some tutelage there with Nurse about being harder to play against in the meat of the game, like in the crease and in front of the net, along the walls. I think Manson will really help that out with Nurse. He's proven to, help young rookie defenders, so that'll probably help, Bouchard, Niemelainen, Broberg. And honestly, hopefully he can get through to Tyson Barrie and help to improve his game, help him give back some confidence, defensively, and maybe make some better reads as to when to unload the bomb from the point and when to distribute it. So we're not, blasting clappers into shin pads and giving up breakaways the other way while you're shorthanded 2-on-0. That one still bothers me. Renegade Man 83 on YouTube. Is there a goalie that you think the Oilers are going to trade for at the deadline? I know rumors on Holtby and Husso were being discussed depending on the standings. The one thing I've kind of heard, and there's been rumblings about, is Colorado really, pursuing Marc-Andre Fleury, so them making a deal for the Flower, and by doing that frees up Darcy Kemper. So Holland was in on Kemper before Colorado with Arizona, before the expansion draft and all of that. So there was kind of a dialogue there with the Coyotes for Darcy Kemper. I could see him revisiting that, and that's a major player. Kemper's a pretty good goalie, but Kemper's picked up his game lately, so maybe Colorado is kind of cooled on the idea of Marc-Andre Fleury. That one would interest me. Darcy Kemper, I think, would help. I mean, getting John Gibson out of Anaheim would certainly interest me, but I don't see the Ducks wheeling and dealing John Gibson after, the year they're having, being much better than many people thought they would. So I don't see them pulling the pin on Gibson. I don't know. I really don't know. I think getting a goalie is still key to really doing a lot this season, but Holland was so, cavalier and casual with, getting rid of Tippett, that I see him sort of taking the same approach to the goaltending situation here, and not really going all in on a goalie until he sees, a little bit more out of Mike Smith and Koskinen and Stuart Skinner. I think if something happens, it isn't right away. It's probably at the deadline, unless more shitting the bed happens. Something they also can't say on radio or Oilers TV. Bay Area Sports says, "Let's go Oilers." If you're in the Bay Area and you're cheering for the Oilers, I almost wonder if you're my friend Jamie from Modesto, California. But yes, let's go Oilers, and let's go in the Bay Area today in about 26 minutes time. Mr. T says, what have small players like Marty St. Louis and Theoren Fleury done that Yamo isn't? Why does it always seem like the little guy is getting knocked off the puck and crumbled into the boards always? Theoren Fleury, I think, had a similar style to Yamamoto. At times, I almost think Yamamoto is a little bit more relentless on the puck and kind of puck pursuit than Theo Fleury was. But I would say Theo Fleury and Marty St. Louis both have a little bit better hands than Yamamoto. I in my mind, both of those guys should be Hall of Famers, and I'm not sure Yamamoto quite has the talent level to get there. I never looked at it, but I would gather kind of all three of them turnover rate is probably similar. We just, Marty St. Louis played the bulk of his career in Tampa Bay, and Theo kind of in Calgary and, the Rangers and the Blackhawks. And so I don't think we have the same focus on them that we have on Yamamoto. I mean, we never take our eyes off our own guys every game of the year, so it might appear that he gets knocked off the puck more than those guys did, but I don't think that's really the case. But I've got no statistical analysis to back up my theory with, so mine's just as good as yours. But I do know that we focus on our own guys, more. Renegade Man 83 says, "I hope the Oilers can find a way to sign Evander Kane, even if it's for a year or two. Yamo is going to be expendable on a trade if they plan to sign the Bison King." Yeah, I mean, Kane's a left winger that can play right wing, and Yamo and Puljujärvi are both right wingers. So, I think the way to make those guys all part of the umbrella is to you have to ship out Tyson Barrie and Zach Kassian. And if you're re-signing Evander Kane, I don't necessarily think you need Zach Kassian anymore. And yeah, I mean, the way to keep your team competitive in a salary cap era is you always have to have a pipeline of talent coming up from the junior and the AHL. So guys like Dylan Holloway, in the pipeline, Carter Savoy, and the guys still in major junior right now are the way to keep your team competitive and cap compliant, unless you start bending the rules like some other teams have. I don't know if Oilers are actually having any warm-up showing tonight. Maybe they don't.
On the ice today, I don't know if that was, maybe there was a curling team
watch
before,
Jay's
but if not, what was the
media avail
purpose of those today?
Yeah, I think we started our practice with just a little bit of a walkthrough on the penalty kill, and just a way for us to teach some of the things that we want to get cleaned up on the penalty kill. And Renegade Man 83. Hopefully that's a tribute to Alish Hemsky, but
says Tyson Barrie is going to be hard to trade because of his recent play and his contract. Yeah, I mean, teams will look at what he's doing this year, but they'll also look at what he was doing last year as well. And if anybody wants a good power play quarterback, he's still that. I just think for us now he's become expendable with the development of Evan Bouchard. Some nights it seems to be a positive to have Barrie on the power play when he's distributing the puck and moving it quickly and still has a pretty good shot. But I mean, Bouchard is only going to get better, and Bouchard not only has the bomb of a slap shot, but he's got a wicked snapshot and wrister that Tyson Barrie just doesn't have, and he can get it through a pretty small hole, and it's lethal. I learned that the hard way. When he was first drafted, I went to training camp with my mom, and we were walking into the community arena at Rogers a few minutes after they started, and he was basically at the top of the circles and just kind of let a little snapshot go, and it hit the glass beside the crossbar. And I jumped, and I mean, I've been in and out of a rink since I was 3 years old, so it spooked me pretty good. Renegade Man 83, Justin Schultz and Sergei Gonchar weren't defensive specialists. Yeah, and I mean, Sergei Gonchar held a pretty good contract, and Justin Schultz, he definitely, it's kind of funny, they got a Pittsburgh Penguins kind of connection there, I guess, but Schultz won a cup and was a pretty usable piece for the Penguins. So yeah, I think Barrie can be traded. I mean, you might have to include some things to sweeten it for somebody else, or maybe you don't. If somebody's really after that power play specialist, then I think they'll look at him. I think Barrie's probably easier to move than Zach Kassian. That could be the tough one. But then again, I mean, sometimes teams want that that power forward. Although I'm hesitant to use that with him because, I mean, if he was really a legit power forward, I think we could use him. And on many a nights, he's not that guy. So yeah, I guess that's a contradiction in itself. Sharks are kind of a team, I think, on the rebuild. It could be an interesting game. I'm curious. I didn't hear anything why Erik Karlsson's not going to be in the lineup tonight, but according to the lines that I saw, he's not going to be. So I don't know if that's a COVID thing or if there's something else going on there, or what the story is. Yeah, Sharks are just taken to the ice now, so maybe we will have some Oiler coverage on the warm-ups, and I'll put it on behind me if we get any of that. Although maybe we don't in games in the States right now, I'm not sure. I actually think like Jack Michaels and calls these games actually from Toronto. Mr. T on YouTube says, how does Woodcroft now factor into any trades and draft picks? Will he have a bigger say in what we I think do after? Being that he's kind of here on a sort of interim basis, I don't know how much say he's going to have on, trades and draft picks. But then again, I mean, Ken Holland seems to be pretty open with, when he was decided he was going to let Tippett go. I think he had he talked to Nurse and McDavid and Draisaitl about it, and so I think he's a pretty open guy. I don't know, I don't see a lot of movement happening at the forward front now. I think the move that they made was Evander Kane to kind of bring a little bit more scoring punch and checking and the ability to drop the gloves, so Nurse doesn't have to be really the only guy. Because I don't think you're going to see much scrapping out of Zach Cassian. I know he took that one fight before he got hurt, but I think that was more an honor thing than wanting to do it. He kind of bumped the goalie and felt obligated to take the fight, but I don't think he's going to go out of his way to get into scraps anymore. So I don't know. I don't think Jay really is going to be dictating trades, and there probably is some discussions at some point of, what do you think you need, Jay? And Jay will give Ken a kind of an idea. Okay, I need a shutdown D-man or whatever. But I really don't see that being the case right away. I think Jay goes to work every day and tries to improve what he has, and I think he's been kind of used to that, being in the AHL for a couple of years. You don't really get a lot of say in your personnel. You're kind of given what you're given after kind of the big club, takes what they think they need, and you have to deal with what's left and make the most of it. And I think he's done a fantastic job of that. So I expect that to kind of continue here, and him not to be going crying to the GM for, a certain type of player. But I think the needs of the club are pretty evident. I think, improving the goaltending, if possible, is job one. If you can get a veteran that kind of plays this same role as Niemelainen at a low cost, but with NHL experience, I think that's another area of concern. And, maybe another bottom six forward at the deadline or something like that to kind of bolster the roster if you're in playoff position is something to look at. But yeah, I don't see Jay pushing for that, and I don't know how much actual pull he would have if he's here on an interim basis. But certainly if he knocks this out of the park, we become a playoff team, and I think even if we just clinch a playoff spot, I think you have to look at bringing him back, on a 2 or 3 year contract, because it's not like, he's been gifted a playoff spot. He's going to have to earn it, and yeah, if he does that, for me, you definitely lock him up, and I think you got to think about that anyway. But really, whoever the coach is going to be next season, if this isn't a playoff year, that coach is of vital importance, and you can't screw it up anymore. You have to get that coaching hire right, and I don't know if Ken Holland survives the off season if this team isn't a playoff team. And if you're getting rid of Ken Holland, I think you have to go up one more rung of the ladder. I think you have to get rid of Bob Nicholson if that's the, if Holland's not your GM, well then that's 2 GMs under Bob Nicholson that have failed. So if it's me, I don't let him hire the next GM. I don't want to think about that part right now. I think that's a little too far into the future. I mean, everybody wants to can everybody, but I just want Jay Woodcroft to have success, us to become a playoff team, be in a playoff spot by the deadline, so that you can tweak it a little bit to improve it and make it better, and hopefully go on a bit of a run. I haven't written this season off. I don't think they're dead in the water. I would have liked this change to have happened probably about a month earlier than it did, but I can admire Ken Holland for kind of trying to be patient, trying to give a person a chance to come out of it, to try to have some consistency and continuity with your coaching staff, and kind of the start to, you know, have these guys listen to a common voice. But at the end of the day, if it wasn't working, it wasn't working, and you have to make a change. And it can't be a little change either. It has to be, you know, a fundamental shift, I think, in philosophy. And I think that's what we're getting here. I see like a guy who I hope will treat everybody, you know, a lot more similar. I don't think he can treat every athlete the same, but I think if a veteran player makes a mistake, there's consequences for it. And I think if a rookie makes a mistake, there's consequences for it. I hope that, you know, if Dmitry Samorukov got called up under Jay Woodcroft and made a mistake in the first period, that he wouldn't have to sit the whole game to be taught a lesson. I don't really have a problem with sitting a guy for a period, but if you can't teach a professional athlete anything, I think that's a problem with the coach more than the player. So I hope there's, you know, more of a willingness to be a teacher than, you know, to be a dictator, you know. So I hope that happens. Mr. T says, YouTube and viewership question: how has clicks and watches changed from when we went on a hot streak to becoming a hot mess recently? You know, on the YouTube front, I think that's a little bit more of a question for Michael Hebert from Oilers Live, but I think we've gained a little bit of traction as we've went along here. Viewership depends, I think, sometimes on who your guests are. I don't imagine that me going solo is probably best for business, to be honest, but some people, you know, like it when I go post-game or pre-game show and have something to talk about, you know, before the game starts. And so I'm a man of the people, people's champ, as The Rock would say. And I've got some things coming up this week that are going to kind of take me away. I've got my playoffs for my men's league on Tuesday and Thursday. So tomorrow night I might be able to do a post-game show, but Thursday I'm pretty much SOL for shit out of luck for it all. I can swear here. But you know what? Our Heavy Hockey Network, where we have articles and stuff on there, I think has over the course of the year kind of gained traction instead of lost. I think, you know, sometimes viewership is actually pretty good when you're losing, because people are mad and they're upset, and you know they want a place to vent. Like in the comments here, you can pretty much say whatever you want, and you know, if it's if it's really obscene, I probably won't read it, but you know, it's almost like I can counsel you guys through whatever we're going through, and you know, have my own counseling with you guys, calming me down too. So it's kind of fun that way. I mean, if people go and they subscribe and they like the content, that definitely helps. Bryce Workman's asking if I think we're going to win tonight. Oh man, I hope so. I think we need to win 2 out of 3 on this California trip. And, you know, starting tonight is a good way to get going on that. And second of a back-to-back tomorrow is always tough. But I really hope we run the table in California here. I think we do win tonight. The other win, I think, probably comes in Anaheim, but I would love to run the table. I think it's important. I think you need 4 out of 6 on this California road trip, but we'll see what shakes down, I guess. I won't go too much longer. I think about 7 minutes. I'll shut her down. It's supposed to be 8:30 puck drop, but it never is. It's usually about 8:35. And I'm wrong. So there we have 2 games in California, and then the game against Anaheim is at home. So the Ducks game's at home. And then we go to Winnipeg, and then Minnesota, and then the tough part of the month is in Tampa Bay and St. Petersburg, Florida, against the Panthers, the Hurricanes, the Flyers, and then the Flyers game is March 1st. So there's a tough stretch of hockey going here, and tonight's really important. Bryce says I could see us going on a winning streak. Yeah, I mean that would be nice, and we've been a streaky team, so ride the roller coaster. Good ship, Oilers. Mr. T says I've got La Bamba queued up. I wonder if it's bad luck to play that before the game. Maybe I'll queue something else up for. Actually, I can't. Never mind. If I play music on YouTube, then the YouTube stream will get shut down. So yeah, I'll not do that. But about 5 minutes, we'll call her quits. If you got any other questions, just fire away and I'll answer if I can. At some point. We like the network, we'd love to be able to do these like Steve Dangle does, or Peyton Manning and Eli, where we've got the game on and we talk to you like through the game and go about it that way, but need Sportsnet streaming rights for that one, so that's probably a few years down the line. If if people like what we're doing and tell their friends and stuff, it only helps us get a little further on the path. There was a time earlier in the season where we were going to be working with Bet99, but we've kind of pulled back from that, just trying to get them to come back to us with something a little bit better than what they were offering earlier. Wambi the Lion says, thanks so much for kindly answering all our questions. You are a great informed Oilers commentator. Bless your heart. Oh, thank you very much. That I started doing some podcasts after I went on with Oilers Live a few years ago. Pam on Twitter, PM Norm, she kind of got the two of us together, and it's been great getting to know Michael Hebert, and we've hosted charity hockey games, and it's usually me against him, and he's about 6'1" on skates, and I'm 6'2", and so we go head to head and kind of try to have this little rivalry. But he's a great human being, and I thank him for all of this. And last year, kind of through a guy on Twitter, got involved with Dashney, my sidekick, and met him, and the guy that we kind of got connected with, we parted ways with, and I'm proud and happy and honored to be kind of a part of the Heavy Hockey Network, back working with my friend Michael Hebert. And this has been great. Thanks everybody for watching, and if you tell your friends to subscribe on YouTube, that only helps us. fuel the network and get it going forward. And on YouTube, it's a little easier to kind of do our analytics homework and track, like, who's watching, who's commenting. Tonight, YouTube chat has run the table. Nobody's watched really on Facebook. We've got viewership on Twitch, which is, unheard of. For me as a podcaster, I've never had an audience on Twitch. And then, people on Twitter tune in, tune out, tune in, tune out. But you guys on YouTube, like, you tune in and you kind of watch the whole show and you comment and you're very active, and it's very much appreciated. So before they start singing anthems and stuff in San Jose, I will sign off like I always do. Keep your sticks on the ice. Keep reaching for the stars. Go Oilers, go. And maybe if I'm awake at the end of the game, I'll do a brief post game too, if you guys want. Because the rest of the week I'm pretty much committed until kind of Sunday night again, when we usually go on with Dash. Dash is busy today, so I just took the reins and went about it solo. And if you want some other content, if you're bored, you can watch yesterday's episode on YouTube with Rob Schremp. That was a lot of fun. Robbie is a great guy, and said he'd come back on anytime. All right, I won't give you a score prediction. Just Oilers are going to win. We got this. We'll talk to you later. Go Oilers, go. Goodbye.